Good evening. In two ways, I'm honored to introduce tonight our lecturer, Guillaume Nery, world freediver champion and world record holder, as the manager of Winter Enrichment program and as a former French sport champion in judo. Freediving is a sport of diving on one breath. And tonight, Guillaume will take you with him to the depths of the ocean. He will talk about his experience, aided by photography and films directed by his wife, Julie. During the weekend, I invite you all to watch the movie Attention, A Life in Extremes on Friday night at the cinema, followed by a discussion led by Guillaume. Also, some of you will have the chance to be part of clinics and free diving in the sea. Please join me in welcoming Guillaume.
Hello. Yes, it's working. Thank you very much for being here. I'm very honored to be with you tonight for this wonderful event. Thank you, Marie-Laure, for the invitation. She invited me like maybe 1 year ago, and today's the day. So I'm very, very glad to be here with you. So let's start. You just have to know that in the 50s, the doctors and the scientists predicted that there was a limit for the human body in the depths on a single breath. And this limit, the doctors were saying it was 50 meters. So at that time, the freedivers were diving in no limits. So I don't know if you heard about what is no limits. Is the discipline you can see and you can watch on the famous French film, The Big Blue. It means you're going down with a weight, so without any movement, without effort, and you come up at the surface with a balloon. So they were saying that 50 meters were the limits. And today, I can dive at 125 meters on a single breath, just with my own body, with my monofin, without any assistance. So my name is Guillaume Nery. I'm 32 years old. I'm a French freediver. And my passion is to discover and to explore the unknown and this world of infinity. And one of my passions is trying to redefine my own limits and the limit of human body. So what is freediving? Freediving, you said in the introduction, is trying to hold your breath as long as possible. Freediving now is a real sport. There is competitions, world records, an educational program, freediving clubs all around the world, federation, and it's growing very, very fast. And if it's a modern sport, it means that there are disciplines. So just to be sure for the people who don't know what is real freediving, I need to explain you a little bit more accurate what is freediving. So the different disciplines. You have the static apnea. Static apnea is you try to hold your breath as long as possible. I can hold my breath for 7 minutes and 42 seconds. This is my personal best. But this is not my specialty, and some other freedivers can stay longer underwater. In the swimming pool also, you have the dynamic apnea. You try to swim the longest distance possible on a single breath of air. So I don't give you my performance because I'm very bad at it. And those performance, this discipline are not my favorite one. And you have the open sea discipline, the outdoor discipline. And you measure the depths. So you have the no limits. I explained you what is no limits, going down and up with a sled and coming back with a balloon. And my discipline, which is constant weight. So you go down, swimming down, just using your monofin, and you come up, swimming up, without any assistance. Just few numbers to explain you my background. I started freediving in 1997, and I started freediving as a challenge. And I didn't start in the water, but my first experience as a freediver was in the bus, a bus between school and home. And I was with a friend, and we were playing like who is able to hold his breath the longest. And I lost. And because I lost, I decided to train home. So I was in my bed and trying to stay longer and longer, and I found out after a few weeks that I had good capacities, and I was able, between 14 and 15 years old, to hold my breath between 4 and 5 minutes. And I was living in Nice, so by the Mediterranean Sea, and I decided, okay, let's use those skills to discover the underwater world, and I just fall in love with it. 5 years later, in 2002, I broke my first world record. I did 87 meters. So all the numbers you can see, it's in constant weight with fin, swimming down, swimming up. I've done several world records, national records. I became world champion in 2011, and my last, the deepest performance is 125 in Greece in 2013. So I'm going to show you some images of what it looks like to go down and up very deep. Those images are come from, it's a mix of one of our film, Narcos, and of one of my record, 123 meters.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Official top. +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Guillaume, Nery. I'm okay.
He's okay. A white card. White card.
Thank you. So a dive at that depth takes me about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So 2 minutes to go down, 1:30 to come up. So that was not like real time. Like there are some images missing, but you have an idea on what is it to go down. So now it's time for you to join me, and I will try to take you down with me to a deep dive. I will try to share with you what happens in my body the more I go down, and what happens into my mind. because diving that deep on breath hold is a body and a mind exploration. So, just before diving, of course, I take a deep, long breath. So it looks like that. So it looks like something like that. And I leave the surface. As soon as I leave the surface, I start swimming, and my heartbeat decreases, and the blood circulation is changing. So we all have micro vessels, and those micro vessels, like in the extremities, in the fingers, in the toes, hands, feet, arms, legs, constrict and send the blood to the vital part of the body, to the core, where the oxygen is needed. The decrease of the heartbeat, the drop of the heartbeat, and the vasoconstriction is called the diving reflex, mammalian diving reflex. So just have a look on this graphic, how it looks like. Here, this is the heartbeat just before the dive, and this is the final inhale, and as soon as I leave the surface, you can see the heartbeat decrease and goes around 30 beats per minute. And during all the dive, even though I'm swimming, even though I'm doing a big effort, the heartbeat stays very low in order to save oxygen. So you can see here a better, bigger image. You have rest at the surface, a dive, rest at the surface, a dive, rest, dive. So on each dive, the heartbeat is going very, very low. So this is the diving reflex, and what is fascinating with the diving reflex is that we all have this. It's not just me, because I'm a freediver. All human beings have this reflex. And what is even more fascinating is that we share this reflex with our cousin, the marine mammals. So those images were shot by Julie Gauthier, my wife. Where is she? She's somewhere around. In Japan, very, very, very close to Tokyo. It's a place where dolphins are swimming around freely. 200 dolphins around an island, volcanic island. And it's just incredible and magic experience to swim with them. So this is a kind of first miracle of the nature, that we still have deep inside of us a little dolphin sleeping, and as soon as you put your face in the water, it's just awake and help you to stay more underwater. So this is the first miracle of the nature. So what's happening into my mind? When I'm leaving the surface, the first 20, 30 meters, I'm swimming, you have seen on the video, trying to have the same movement than the dolphin. I have to find a good balance at that point between the power and relaxation. The idea is to go down like quick, but not too quick, to save oxygen. So the only thing I'm thinking at this stage is try to be relaxed. Try to have your mind completely relaxed, and even if you're swimming, your body has to be relaxed. Then, after 25, 30 meters, I don't know if you remember in the images, I can stop swimming. So I stop swimming and I start free falling. So it's the best moment of the dive because I can just rest from 30 meters to 125 meters. But why? Why can I stop swimming? It's because of the pressure. The pressure will change the volume of air in my body. So basically the pressure, I can feel it on the compressible part of the body. On the non-compressible part of the body, like the legs, the arms, everywhere where you have liquid and solid, you don't feel the pressure. You feel the pressure only on the empty part of the body. So the sinuses, the middle ear, and of course mostly the lungs. So when I reach 20, 30 meters, my lungs are compressed, and because it's the air of the lungs that make me float, after 30 meters, my body is more, is heavier, and I can start sinking like a rock because my body is heavy. So you can see here, when I leave the surface, so I don't know exactly, it changes all the time. It depends on the training, but I can take between 9 and 10 liters in my lungs when I full inhale. So the average is 5 liters, so I can take more air than the average. 10 meters, the pressure is double than at the surface, so the volume is divided by 2. So at 10 meters, I still have 4.5 liters of air. It's the volume, that the quantity of molecules are still the same, but the volume is compressed. And when I am at 30 meters, I have 2.37 liters, and that's the reason why my body is heavier. And the more I'm going down, the more the pressure is big, and the volume is becoming smaller and smaller. And when I reach 125 meters, I maybe have 0.5 liters left in my lungs, which is absolutely nothing. It's maybe the size of a small lemon, I don't know. But there is almost nothing. How come can I handle this pressure? Remember, at the beginning I told you that the predicted depth limit for a human body down was 50 meters. Why 50 meters? Because it's around 50 meters that your lungs reach the residual volume. Residual volume is the volume the lungs are not supposed to be able to compress more, otherwise it will implode. But what scientists didn't know at that time is that we have another magical phenomenon that we share also with the marine mammals, and this phenomenon is called blood shift. So what is blood shift? It's kind of hard to explain in English, but I will try to do my best. When you reach the residual volume, you have some blood plasma that is coming around the lungs to create kind of protection. So imagine the lungs and imagine that the, I don't know what to say in English. Not the alveoli, yeah, la paroi. I need a French. La paroi. Okay, again, the layer, yeah, the layer of the lungs are filling with blood plasma, with liquid, to protect. And this is the reason why the more I'm going down, the thicker is the layer, and this is the reason why I can still be comfortable at 125 meters. So it's not something I control, it's mechanical. It's when you reach a certain volume, blood shift happens. So it's magic, and it allowed me to keep going. Of course, to help the body with this phenomenon, to be more comfortable down, I'm doing a lot of yoga and breathing exercise to have the maximum flexibility in the chest and in the diaphragm. So here are some exercises. So I empty my lungs completely, even more than the residual volume. Never try that after lunch. You will regret it, I promise you.
Les exercices.
No, it looks crazy, but I promise you everyone can do it. Maybe you want to try. No, it's really easy. If you want, at the end of the show, at the end of the presentation, I can show you. And no, God, I forgot. I just ate 1 hour ago, so I will not show you. But I can try to explain you if you want. So after 50 meters, I keep thinking. I can feel the pressure and what's happening into my mind at that time, at that moment. You know, when you are on land, when you are acting like a human being on land, when you have a resistance, what is your natural reflex? Is to fight, is to resist. When you have someone against you, you try to, there is like not a fight, you don't fight all the time, of course, but when you have a resistance, you try to go against it. And this is exactly what we have to avoid when we're going deep. When you first experience this feeling of pressure, it feels quite strange, and you want to resist, you want to go against it, and you contract the chest. You think, okay, maybe if I contract, I will be stronger than the pressure. But no, there is nothing that can be stronger than the water and the pressure. So the only way to be accepted by the depths and by the elements, by the pressure, is to let go, to let completely go, and to accept that you cannot fight the pressure. So it's something physical, because you have to relax the chest, but it's also something that has to come from your mind. You have to think, okay, I have to accept that the nature, the elements are stronger than me, and I just have to let go. And this is the only way to feel comfortable and to keep going deeper and deeper. So from 50, 60 meters, this is the only thing I have in mind, like just relax and accept. Accept. Because it's just the beginning. Because the more I'm going, the more difficulties I will encounter. Cold water. In Mediterranean Sea, after a certain depth, so it depends, sometimes it's 40 meters, sometimes it's 50, 60 meters, I will reach what we call a thermocline. Thermocline is a temperature barrier. Like it's 25 above the thermocline, and below the thermocline it can go like at 15, 13 degrees. So imagine just having a nice shower with hot water, and then I turn off the hot water, and like in 1 second it's freezing, it's cold. So this is what we experience. So when you're not used to it, it can be stressful, but when you know that cold increase the diving reflex, you consider cold as a friend and not as an enemy. So just some images to show you the difference. So this is the blood in the body. If you go in a 35 degrees water, so the blood is just circulating everywhere. If you do the same dive at 20 degrees, the blood leaves the extremities. This is what I explained to you. Blood leaves the extremities and go into the vital parts. So you save more oxygen. If the water is colder, you save more oxygen. Two graphics here to show you the diving reflex. So this is the heartbeat. So this dive, so let's start with this dive. This dive is the heartbeat in a warm water. So you can see the heartbeat decrease, but it doesn't decrease as much as here when you're diving in a colder water. So if the water is colder, the heartbeat is even slower, so you save more oxygen. This is the O2 saturation. This is in warm water, you lose more oxygen. The O2 saturation is going more lower. And if you are in the cold water, you save more oxygen. So really, the cold water is our friend. So this is something I have to keep in mind when I'm diving deep. So just a few images before. Some images to show you that's to get the adaptation with the cold water. We love in winter to try extreme experience to get kind of adaptation of the body with the cold water. So that was in Finland. So the colors are natural. Like I didn't change anything on the post-production. It's yellow. It's kind of crazy place. So you can feel on those experiences like the body is in shock and it slows down a lot. It's a very interesting experience. I think this is the only experience you cannot have in Saudi Arabia, living on the yachts. All the other things, yes, in the Red Sea, I think you can experience everything. So, yes, I was explaining you that the cold is our friend. Of course, you will tell me, so why don't you do all your world record under the ice? It's because under the ice it's too cold. It's nice as an experience, but very quickly in the water, when it's too cold, you will start losing energy because your body wants to create warmth and energy. So when we are diving deep, we are for 1 minute 30, 2 minutes maximum in a 15, 13 degrees water temperature. It's very cold, it's a shock, but it's not like under the ice. So under the ice is just an experience. So after 60, 70 meters, I'm still free falling. So the light is less and less bright. The cold is slowing down my body. I really can feel the heartbeats decrease. I'm in a total state of relaxation, as I told you, to accept the pressure. So I'm in a kind of meditation state. And what I really feel at that point is that the pressure take all the matter inside. And I can feel exactly the same with the thoughts. Like I'm in a so deep meditation state at that time that I can feel that my mind, my soul is going even deeper inside of me. And it's kind of fascinating moment because I'm at 70 meters, I still have 50 seconds of free fall. And it feels like time is not running anymore. It feels like I could stay forever falling without the need of anything. It's kind of a real magic experience because you're out of the concept of beginning, of end. It feels like a moment, an endless moment. And there is not a lot of situation in the life you can experience that. And I can experience that at that time. When I try to harmonize three things: the body, with the mind, and with the water. So body, mind, elements, all together in harmony, and like it feels like there is no limit. It feels like time is infinite. And it's kind of magic experience. So I free fall 70, 80, 100 meters, 110, 120, and then I get to 125. So 125, I have a lot of things happening into my mind. First of all, I realized, okay, I'm down. So I'm quite happy because, like, in the sports way, like in my sportive mind, I'm like in a competition. I'm happy because I'm half of the way and I can grab the tag. I don't know if you have seen on the video. When I'm down, I take a tag to show to the judge that I've been down. So I think about technical issues like take the tag and trying to use save oxygen, and I try not to spend too much time down. But if I listen to my feelings and my sensations, I don't want and I don't need to breathe. It's kind of crazy to be there. It's very hostile there. It's almost pitch black. It's still a little bit of blue. It's still blue. It's not black. It's blue. It's cold. The surface is very far. The pressure is squeezing completely my body. But if I listen to my feelings, I feel good. Why? What's the reason? Physiologically is because with the pressure, the partial pressure of oxygen is very big, so it feels like I'm full of oxygen. So I really don't need to breathe at that moment. But what is the main feeling I experience at that moment is the feelings of humility. Why? Because when I'm at the end of my line here, I really feel like I'm a little drop in the middle of the ocean, like I'm lost. I'm a little piece of nothing. And it's kind of extreme situation, but magical at the same time, to look around me. So if I try to look up, down, left, right, in front, behind me, I can see just the same thing. It's just blue, but it's just blue, nothing else. I can see the same unity, and at the same time, it's infinity. If you think about it, it's the only place on earth you can experience that. Everywhere around, you will be standing on the floor, so you can look at the sky, you can look at wonderful landscape, even at the top of Mount Everest, but sooner or later, you will look down and you will see the ground. When you are down at 125 meters, you look around and you see just no limits around you. It's kind of spiritual and fascinating experience. So I just consider at that time that I'm lucky to be there. I'm like a witness of the unknown, and I just enjoy, even though it's 1 or 2 seconds, because I don't stay down. It's never a question. It's not like maybe I should stay here because I'm better here than at the surface. No, never, absolutely never. Yeah, but you're laughing, but a lot of people asking me the question, do you want sometimes to stay down because the life is better down than up? No, because it will not last forever. And my life is here with my family, on land, breathing. But down there, I have 1, 2, 3 seconds maximum where I can enjoy. It feels like eternity, and it's short, but it's intense. So after those 2, 3 seconds, I leave there, and I can come up because I'm full of energy and full of happiness. So I start coming up. And when I start coming up, everything is changing. So the last 100 meters, can you imagine, I was free falling without any movements, like in harmony with the water, and I was just doing nothing and just being accepted by the ocean. It was a very comfortable situation. But when I start coming up, because of my body that is heavy, I have to swim. I have to swim a lot, because if I'm not swimming, I'm sinking back. So I start swimming up. And as soon as I leave the bottom, I experience narcosis. So narcosis, what is it? I don't know if you will all understand what is it. In English, we call that rapture of the deep. It's kind of hallucinations, visions you can have when you're down. And you lose a little bit your consciousness. I'm still there, but I feel like a little bit dizzy, and I feel like I don't control everything. And I have like dreams, like I'm still there, I'm still awake, but I have kind of dreams, visions, hallucinations. Why? Because of the pressure, you have some nitrogen. So you know when you're breathing air at the surface, you have 80% of the air you're breathing is nitrogen, but in a normal pressure, the nitrogen is going into the lungs, but doesn't go to the blood circulation. It comes out. But when you're down with the pressure, some micro bubbles of nitrogen are going into the circulation, plus the CO2. CO2, when you're down, you have a little amount, but this little amount is going into the circulation also, and the mix between nitrogen and CO2 with the high pressure creates this feeling of narcosis. And I have this feeling from the bottom to the surface, all the way up. And the more I'm coming up, so maybe there are some scuba divers in the room, and if you do scuba diving, you know that if you're deep, you have experienced narcosis, but if you come up 10 meters, narcosis disappears. Because in scuba diving, it's only linked with nitrogen. But in freediving, it's also CO2. And because we're not breathing when we are down, normally we are supposed to exhale the CO2. But because we are not exhaling, the CO2 is building up. And we have more and more and more CO2. And even if there is less pressure coming up, we have more and more CO2. And that's why the narcosis keep following me all the way up. Like at 100 meters, 90 meters, 80 meters on the way up, depending on the day, on the feelings, I can feel my body waking up. Well, what does it mean? For the first time of the dive, I want to breathe. I feel the first contraction of the chest, of the diaphragm. My body tells me, hey little guy, you're not a fish. You're not a dolphin neither. You need to be at the surface and you need to breathe. This is just a reminder. And I can hear the reminder. It's kind of strong. And I can feel this contraction. It's starting at 80 meters. At the same time, another signal of my body is the lactic acid. So you know what is lactic acid? It's when you're running or when you do high intensity training, you can feel it's burning in the muscles. It's burning because of lactic acid. So same as with the CO2, because we are not breathing underwater, we cannot take the lactic acid out of the body. So the lactic acid is building up, all the way up. So when I am at 80, 70 meters, I feel more and more pain in the legs, like it's burning more and more. I feel that I need to breathe. I have hallucination at the same time. It's kind of funny situation. And it's very important at that moment to keep focus and live the present. Because if one moment I decide, okay, let's look up at the surface to see where is the surface. At 70 meters, you don't see the surface. You can go into panic. Like, it can be very risky to decide to look at the surface when you're so deep, because you can be lost and lose the control. So I'm focused on one thing, is just live the present. You have pain in the legs, you need to breathe, you have hallucinations. Anyway, just keep swimming and keep focusing. So I have the line, you've seen I'm diving along a line, and I'm looking at the line, and the line is like the present. It means the present to me. So I just look at the line, and I stay focused on the line. So I try to live the present, as I was saying, and I focus on the technique. Work efficient. You know, on the first part of the dive, I was telling you that I have to find a good combination between relaxation and the power and the speed. On the way down, you're more on the relaxation side. On the way up, you're more on the power side. Because of course, yes, I need to be relaxed, but I need to come up. That's the priority. But I feel confident. I am confident in my mind. Why? Because all the physical training I'm doing all year long. And I'm training all year long. Being a good freediver is not only doing meditation and yoga, because most of the people think that I'm just doing meditation and yoga. But no, the main part of the training is a lot of physical training. Training the muscles, training the breath hold capacities in a swimming pool. Like trying to have the best preparation. Here are some examples of what I'm doing. So some exercise, technical exercise in the pool, to work on the movement, to be as efficient as possible and as powerful as possible. So at the surface or on breath hold, under the surface of the water. I'm doing also a lot of gym exercise. So on this exercise I'm using a big Swiss ball to work on the core. It's core training. To work on the abs and all the little muscles very deep inside. I'm doing some exercise also. This is my home. And this exercise are called burpees. You work a lot on this exercise. I also lift weight. Most of the people say, no, you don't lift weight, because if you lift weight, you get muscles, and muscles are not good for freediving. No, you need muscles, because you need power. So that was 10 days ago, home in Nice, because we don't have only the sea, we have the mountains also. And sometimes I'm doing a lot of training also in the snow, in altitude. But the hardest training is this one.
Boum boum. 1, 2, on envoie.
No, this is the most funny one.
On respire.
So this is my daughter, and sometimes she trains with me. No, she's just playing with me. So yeah, training is a big part of course of my life, and that is the main reason why I'm confident. And on the way up, even though I feel all these things happening into my body, I know that I can go and I can do it, no problem. I come to 30 meters, so the surface is closer and closer. 30, 20 meters. And we are now in the danger zone. Why is it the danger zone? Because at this stage, this is the moment where you are at the end of the dive, you have used a lot of oxygen, and this is the moment where you can lose consciousness. So I'm not crazy. I don't lose consciousness like every week. It's very, very, very uncommon. It's very rare. In all my career, it's been 18 years that I'm doing freediving almost every day. I had 7 blackouts in total, which is already too much. But considering that some freedivers have more than 200 blackouts in their career, it's still manageable. So what is blackout is you lose consciousness because you don't have enough oxygen left in the brain. So it can happen at 20 meters, at 10 meters, at 5 meters, at the surface. Sometimes you reach the surface, you're breathing 2 times, and you go to sleep. Why? Because even if you're breathing at the surface, it's too late. You are too close to the limits. And that's the main reason. And that's the only and the main reason why we are never, ever diving alone. You can see on the images, on the world record, on the world championship, I am surrounded by a lot of people. But if I show you some images of basic training when I'm home in Nice, it's the same. Even if I'm going to play at 15, 20, 30 meters, it's very safe zone. I'm never alone. So if there is one thing that you have to remember here is if you want to try to do freediving, never ever freedive alone. Always be surrounded by team, And we are lucky today because we have a lot of local freedivers. They have a club. And if some of you are thinking, okay, why not to try freediving? Don't try alone. Never. Just go and ask for instructors, and they will teach you the main rules for safety. So this is why I choose this picture, because this is around 20, 25 meters. 20, 25 meters, I have the safety freedivers that are with me, and in case I have a problem, they take me back to the surface. But it doesn't mean that at 40 or 50 meters, I'm unsafe. It doesn't mean that I'm alone. I'm diving along a rope, and I'm attached to this rope. So we have a big safety procedure, big safety systems that can help me to come up anytime, any moment during the dive. Even if I have a problem at 125 meters, we are following the dive with a fish finder, and you can see live exactly where I am and if there is a problem. I'm supposed to be always in movement, like going up or going down or coming up. If at one point I don't move, they activate the system and I can go back at the surface very, very quickly. So it's very important to keep in mind that, okay, it looks like an extreme sport. It looks like something dangerous, but if you do it the proper way, it's not that dangerous. And I even want to say it's not dangerous. And there are a lot and thousands of other activities that are more dangerous than freediving. 10 meters, 5 meters, the last 5 meters, I start exhale air into my lungs, just to be sure that when I reach the surface, the first thing I will do is the first breath. And I'm so happy to do this first breath. I'm so happy to be back at the surface, even if it was a magic moment. I'm a human. I told you I'm not a fish and not a marine mammals. And even the marine mammals need to breathe, but the fish breathe underwater. I have to breathe on land. So I'm happy. I'm happy to breathe. I'm happy to feel the small molecule of air going into my lungs. And it's kind of a shock for all the feelings, because in 1 second, I was in a kind of darkness. I see the light. In 1 second, I was in the world of silence, and I can hear people talking around me. I had the feeling of water in my face, and 1 second, I can feel the air. So all the feelings are changing. So it's kind of a shock, but a good one. And it's like a rebirth, because I've learned so much on a deep dive. I had a so deep experience. I went so deep inside of me, and I went so far. I went to the unknown, that it's kind of every time a new life that is starting. So I like going down, but I like the first breath also, because it's the beginning of a kind of a new life every time. And the main question always when I do a dive and when I experience some magic down there is the same question that the doctors were asking when no one knew what was the limit. Do I have a limit? Where is the limit? When will be the limit? So is there a limit is the main question. And this question remains without answer. Because I cannot say that, it's impossible to say that sooner or later someone will be able to do just 1 meter more. At the moment, the world records are broken every year or every 2 years with 2 or 3 meters. Maybe in 50 years, it will be 1 meter every 5 years, but we will still improving the performance. Of course, one day we will reach the bottom of the ocean. That will be the limit. But before that, I think that it will take time. Maybe it will take millions of years, but I think if you look in the past, human body has always been able to adapt. And adaptation is one of the main thing, the main characteristic in the life and also in the human for human being. But what the doctor says today, so the doctor are now they don't try to yell too much. They're like, okay, maybe if we can say, maybe there will be a limit, and the limit will not be the capacity to accept the pressure. Maybe it will not be the capacity to accept less oxygen. Maybe the limit will be the neurological narcosis. So the capacity of the brain to accept those visions and hallucinations. That's their answer now, and we will see in the future if human body is able to adapt in the long term with this neurological aspect, or if it's going to be the limit one day. And to finish the presentation, I want to finish with two short films. Two short films to summarize what means to me freediving. Because yes, the main reason why I started freediving and the main reason why I'm still diving deeper and deeper is this fascination of the exploration. Exploration of the unknown, this quest. Feed me, still feed me. But freediving is also the best tool to do two wonderful things. The first one is to explore the world, to explore wonderful places. And the second reason is to do art. Because at the beginning, since I'm young, I'm not an artist. I don't know how to draw, I don't know how to sing, I don't play music, but I don't know why, underwater with my wife, we decided to take a camera and we made films. And freediving became a kind of art, an art of life. And this is what we try to share with the general public. So I'm just going to finish with those two films. One is showing the exploration of one of the best underwater scenery I've seen in the world. And the second film is our latest short film we've done with my wife Julie, Ocean Gravity. So just enjoy the two films.
Before letting me dive, Don Cristiano told me one last thing. I'm not sure I understood him, but I can still hear him. He said, "You must learn to let yourself sink to the deepest mysteries, to then awaken in the light." At this stage and in these places, it's not me who's moving, but the depths that are coming towards me. It's as if there was no movement, but an inner journey that would lead me, without trying, to the whole world. 2 minutes. It's been 2 minutes since I left. These dead trees are older than all the dreams of men, and behind these mists, I feel the sea floating. And if I was wrong, I only have 2 minutes of air, 2 minutes of consciousness. The time it would take for me to turn back and get out. There are places on Earth that take you to the sea, where the light shines.
So this was in Mexico, in Yucatan, and it was a discovery of the cenotes. Cenotes are places like underwater cave full of fresh water, crystal clear fresh water, and as you could see, the underwater scenery is very unusual, and that's what makes this place so unique and fascinating. So in the second film, we shot it with Julie, and I will ask her to come after the film with me on stage. And this film is Ocean Gravity. We shot it in French Polynesia. Okay, just watch it, and we talk about it after if you want. The light and the sound, please. you very much for your attention. Julie, you can come. So Julie is the one who made most of all the images you've seen, so pictures and films, of course. And thanks to her, I'm where I am now. So thank you. So I don't know what's the plan exactly, but what I love to do after each session is to answer the questions. So I don't know if we have time or not. I think we have. Yes?
Yes.
15 minutes to answer the question. So I don't know if we have a microphone to give to the audience if you have questions.
First of all, thank you very much for such an amazing talk.
Thank you.
I would like to ask, as a person who do some extraordinary sport too, what do you usually reply when people ask you, why do you need it? I know this is very frequently asked question for such people who do extraordinary or crazy sports or crazy things. Give us suggestion, please, what to reply on this question.
So I have a question too. What is your sport?
Powerlifting and weightlifting. Weightlifting,
Okay.
powerlifting.
The reason why I'm doing freediving. First of all, I've always been in love with outdoor activities. So for sure in my life I would have, if it was not freediving, I would have chosen an activity linked to the natural environment. Then I would have chosen anyway an activity with a direct interaction with the elements. Like when there is too much material, I don't like. I like simple activities. Like maybe I would have chosen, I don't know, mountaineering, like climbing, or extreme running, I don't know. But what I love in freediving is just me and the water, like the close relation with it. And another answer, and maybe that's why I've chosen freediving and not another sport, is I don't like adrenaline. And in freediving, you don't have adrenaline. You try to avoid adrenaline. You try to go very deep inside of you and to control everything. And so if I try to summarize, I like the unknown. So just to go where not much people have been. One of my dreams was to explore space when I was young. Like one of my dreams now is to go on Mars and to be one of the first one to work on Mars.
I think you're good.
Julie will not let me do that, of course, because I have a family and everything. But just trying to, I have a lot of admire a lot, like Jacques Mayol, who was the first freediver going very deep. He was the first one who went to 100 meters. Cousteau, because he was one of the first one trying to breathe underwater with scuba tanks and exploring. With Neil Armstrong, with Edmund Hillary, who is the first one who went on Everest. The first explorers back a few hundreds years ago. So I like this feeling, and I think this is good for mankind to keep exploring.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
What do your parents and other family members think about your dangerous hobby? Are they nervous a lot?
Yeah, for my mother, it was very hard for her to accept because she doesn't like water. She doesn't like the depths in the sea, and she doesn't like, but she's kind of scared with it. My father loved the water and loved going down, and when I was young we were playing together. But what is hard for them to accept is not that it's not just I'm doing freediving, it's also I make a living out of freediving. So that's two situations. Like I don't have a normal job, like with with salary and with a safe situation. I have my own company. I try to make a living out of freediving, and on the top of that, I'm not having a company in badminton or ping pong. I have nothing against this sport, but like considered like a safe sport, but in sport considered as dangerous. But now they know me, they know that I have a safe behavior. I know I don't like adrenaline, so I don't like and I don't want to risk my life. I really consider I'm doing something safe, even if from the outside it looks dangerous. So they know I'm a father now, so they know that there is something more important than freediving. So I think they feel more safe now.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Maybe, yes.
Here. First of all, thank you for amazing talk. I mean, incredible.
Thank you.
I have attended many talk, and this is the first talk that I turn around and there is no one sleeping and no one playing with their phone. So thank you, and thank you for your wife for amazing footage. I mean, that's incredible. I am scuba diving, and actually I try to shift to free diving. The equipment is
good
so
choice.
so happy, and need a lot of cleaning and repairing, and I like to be free diving. But I have trained, and the maximum time for me now is 3.5 seconds. That's joke. 3.5 minutes. And
yeah, it's better.
And I can go more than that, but every time I decide to go up because I'm scared to black out, because I don't know when the time to say, okay, that's enough. Okay, just go out. I can stay more, but I don't know when it is to say, okay, that's it. This is the limit for you. More than this is dangerous, because all my training was in swimming pool, actually. I didn't go to the sea because I have not professional training anymore. Just I trained myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my question, if you can help me with knowing my limit.
So when you do you hold your breath, you are alone, or you have
No, I have many friends swimming around, and I have many people.
But do you have someone like watching at you, like directly?
Yeah.
Someone that knows a little bit, like an instructor, or just a friend?
The swimming trainer in the
Okay.
pool. Not really.
So
diver,
yeah,
but
what is very important is to find an instructor, freediving instructor, because if you have someone in front of you that don't really know what is freediving, what is the limit, how someone looks like when he's close to the limit or not, it's very hard to have
feeling.
Sorry?
Can I have feeling?
Yeah,
by
have a
myself
feeling,
to
and
decide?
yes, exactly. So it's good. Like I would like to see you, for example, doing your static. Maybe to talk with you when you are doing your static, and when you come up, it will be good to see you. Like it will be good for an instructor that knows what is the limit to see you, and then you can talk with him. Okay, why did you come up? So did you feel contraction or not? So because maybe you come up and you're far from the limit, or maybe you're right and you're just at the limit. And I cannot say if I'm not watching you.
So there is no way to decide by myself.
But for
Under the
example,
water.
yes, the thing is experience will help you. Like it's just a question of experience. So the more you will do it, and the thing is that if no one has ever told you, okay, I think you can do more, or you are at your limit, you still don't know. So you need to have someone that, okay, tell you and gives you certitude. Comment on dit certitude? So it's very easy English, huh? Just take French and I put an accent and it works. So certitude. So yeah, it's because you're still lost, I think, that you're scared.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to be scared. Normally when you know what's happening, you're not scared. But to know, it takes time. And for example, when I hold my breath, like I've been doing this for so long that I know exactly what's happening. Like the first need to breathe, first contraction, the first alarm comes between around 4 minutes. Look at 4 minutes. Okay.
It's 2.5 for me.
2 what?
2.5.
2.5. If it's 2.5, so I don't want you to take risk or what, but if it's 2.5, you're not supposed to finish at 3.5. Normally, it means you can stay a little bit longer. But if I don't say you, I cannot be sure.
Okay.
But for example, at 4 minutes, first contraction, until 5:30, contractions are getting stronger, and after 5:30, 6 minutes, it doesn't go up, it stays as it is, and I can feel like I lose oxygen after 6 minutes. And the feelings are changing a little bit. So I'm more aware, and then I come up, I try to keep margin, and then I can analyze the feeling, the way I'm breathing up. People can tell me, okay, I think you were in perfect control, you were super easy, or you look tired. And so with all those information, my information, and the people with me, I can have a better idea. So this is the only way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This was.
Yes, here. Next one. Sorry, there's just a question here. So how old was I when I started? So the first experience when I was in the bus, it was 14 years old. And then I started the activity in a club, like with instructors, at 15 years old. And between few months I was doing with my friend. I was a little bit lost, but I was like trying to get my own experience. But back in 1887, it was not like now. Now you have freediving club like almost everywhere. At that time in France, there was only 1 or 2 freediving clubs. Now we have 50 freediving clubs. So it was much different. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the talk. It's very amazing that you're inspiring to find the limits. So I think that is very amazing. So once I was watching a documentary about sea lions, and I thought it was very interesting. What were they doing? They were eating rocks. So they were much heavier, so they could go deeper on the ocean.
So they're eating rocks?
Yeah, they're eating rocks, so they're heavier. So they can go deeper. So when you were challenging yourself, and maybe this is not a good question, you were saying what is the limit? No, you reached a very, very deep limit, and right now it's the world record for sure. No, I was just wondering, how much is your suit? Like the suit you're wearing?
So the wetsuit is 1.5 millimeters, very, very thin.
So it's not really heavy. I mean,
no, it's even the opposite. A wetsuit makes me float. Okay. Because the thing is, if I can have a diving belt, you know, with weight. But the thing is, if I take weight going down, I have to take back the weight to the surface. If I leave the weight down, it's another discipline. It's kind of no limits, not no limits, it's another one. But if you do this, you just go with the machine, a sled, we call that, with 30 kilo, and you go very deep. But yeah, it's not only a matter of that.
Okay.
But to what you have seen with the sea lion in the nature, there is crazy things happening, and we can see the result of evolution. It's completely amazing. For example, the sperm whale. Sperm whale, you know, they are the deepest animal on Earth. They can dive at 2,500 meters, and the sperm whale, I don't know if you see how it looks like. They have like a big, I don't know the exactly name in English, but something like a nose, I don't know, huge. And in this area of their body, they have, j'ai oublié le nom. It's a liquid, spermaceti, I think it's the name, and they can change the density of this liquid to make it more, to make it heavier, to go down and to sink without any effort. And when they're down, they can warm up this liquid to make it less dense, to make like a kind of balloon. So to do that, they just use the water, the cold water inside, to refresh this liquid to make it heavier, and when they're done, they use, I don't know if it's the blood or what, to warm it up. It's completely unbelievable. So they just control their own machine that can transform into weight or balloon, just like that. So that's the main reason why they can go that deep.
Yes.
Ah.
I'm sorry. I like to thank the organizers and also you and your wife for being here. I cannot tell you how many times I watched your video. I think it's called Dean's Blue Hole.
Yes.
Dive. It's beautiful. The music is wonderful. Excellent production. So my question is, you don't talk about it, but it surprises me, the gag reflex. How did you control the gag reflex, the need to breathe? And I've seen other free divers who actually fight it all the time. They seem to be gagging all the time.
C'est quoi gag? Yeah. So this is the need. This is what I call contraction. So on the way up, I have the contraction of the diaphragm, and I mean I don't fight it. Like I just accept it. So if a contraction comes, I just let the contraction do its job, and I just accept it, and it's just a matter of adaptation. And when I dive at 50, 60 meters, I don't have contraction. When I go to 6, 70 or 80 meters, I have 1 or 2 contraction. So I get the adaptation. And step by step, dive after dive, I can improve and I can redefine these limits. But to deal with the contraction, you know why we have contraction? Contraction is not because of lack of oxygen. Contraction comes when you reach a certain level in the blood of CO2. So CO2 is a kind of alarm. It's an alarm. When you have too much CO2 in the blood, it goes to the brain and gives the information, okay, if you have CO2, it's because you need to breathe. So it sends a message to the muscles, and this is why we have this contraction. But having CO2 doesn't mean we doesn't have oxygen anymore. So you can, that's why when I was telling you that at 4 minutes I have my first contraction, it's just at 4 minutes my CO2 levels start building up, but I can still stay until 7 minutes and a half, so almost double. I can double my time because you get used to this high level of CO2, and this is why I'm training in the pool. In the pool, you train, for example, you swim 25 or 50 meters under the water, fast. You recover, I recover, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 seconds maximum, and I come back underwater, and I'm swimming fast. For 10 or 20 times. Doing that, you build up a level of CO2 in the body, huge level of CO2. But during those 15, 20 seconds, you recover the oxygen. So you can work specifically on what we call hypercapnia. So the ability of the body to accept a very high level of CO2. And it's very useful to train that in the pool, because the more you get used to those contractions, the more you can accept it. And it's just part of the dive. And it's not even painful. So when I'm doing, like, for example, 20 times 50 meters, after 10 repetitions, so I recover like 10, 15 seconds, I take the breath, I take the last breath, I'm swimming down, I start swimming, I have 50 meters to do, and after 5 meters, I have the first contraction. Because the level of CO2 is so high, so big, that I just swimming all the way with contraction. So mentally you get used to it, and after you can even forget it.
To be honest, I've just started breathing normally. I was holding my breath all time long.
Just broke a world record, huh? 1 hour.
I don't know. But anyway, I'm glad that the water of my home country has treated you well so far, and that's Greece. So what's your next goal? 1 meter, 2 meters more?
So next big competition will be this year in Cyprus, Mediterranean Sea. And to be honest, my goal now is just to improve whatever the depth will be. Even if I go 1 meter deeper, I will be very happy, because it's been so long time that I'm doing the sports that world record and the world champion title are not the main motivation now. Like, I've done 4 world records, I got 2 world champion, I won 2 world championship, 1 individual, 1 with the team. So I'm not like, I want another one. I just want it's more a personal adventure. Like, I want to understand more my body, my mind, have a better control, to go a little bit beyond. But if I just go 1 meter to the world record, I will be happy. 5 years ago, I would have said, I'm so frustrated, I just wanted to break the world record. Now what's very interesting to me is to keep improving and still being one of the top athletes, to be an explorer still. But even, I will try to break the world record if I can, of course, but I know that 1 month later someone can break it, so it's not that important.
So we are very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
I was looking for you too much. I am an advanced free diver. My best is 60 meter with the bifin. I am
60?
60 meter with the bifin. Yeah, I did in Blue Hole. My question, like, how I can measure my lungs to do the backing, because I want to do it in the safe way. Because you know, if you back in too much, maybe you will close to the blackout, or maybe
you mean packing?
Yeah, the backing. Yeah.
You don't do packing at the
No, I didn't do the backing, because I really heard many things about, and I want to know the best way to do the backing with the safe way.
So so the packing, to explain you, the packing is when you do the, just to explain you what is it. It's a way when you are full of air, when you take a deep, deep breath, you're full of air, and with the packing you can add an extra liter or extra 2 liters in the lungs. You compress the air in the lungs. And this is something that can be dangerous if you don't know how to do it. So he wants to learn how to do it, so I will give him some tricks. But for you, if you have never done freediving, this is completely forbidden. Like you can do it when you are an experienced freediver only. And you can reach amazing, beautiful dive. He went to 60 meters without the packing. So it's, it's not necessary. But yes, why do you want to do packing? Because you reached your limits?
No, I just feel relaxed with the full lungs. I didn't do the packing.
No, but now for the future, you want to start packing?
Yeah.
Why? But at 60 meters, you were at the limit, or you were okay?
Up to 57, maybe I feel the compression too much.
Okay. So the packing will help you a little bit, but it will not. You have a lot to improve with the relaxation and with adaptation. Packing will not change everything. Like for me, yes, you can add 10, 15 meters with the packing. But on the other side, you have to be very careful on the packing on the way up to exhale a little bit of air. Otherwise, when you come back at the surface, your lungs are stretched too much, and with the blood shift, you can have a risk of squeeze, injuries with the. So the best way to do packing is to start, for example, with 2 or 3 movements, like that's it. And you do several dives with the packing. With this 3 movements, you already have more air, and you're not going to hurt yourself. And once you have done several dives with 3 packing, you do 4 packing, and then 5. And step by step, you learn and improve. This is really how I do. Like when I do my training dive, when I want to reach 125, I start at 60 meters, so no packing, 70, no packing, 80, and at one moment I say, okay, I want to be a little bit more comfortable, and I pack 2, 3 packing, not more. And I try to get adaptation, and I go a little bit deeper. And then, okay, let's do 5 packing. And just to give you an example, I spent 10 years diving deep, and when I was doing the competition and the deepest dive, I was focusing on doing the maximum packing possible. So I was packing 20, 25. And last year, I improved a lot the technique of equalization, and I could go deeper, like 125, that was deeper than 123, with 10, 15 packing. Because the volume of air is not the only issue, it's the technique, the equalization technique that made the difference, and the stretching. I've done a lot of exercise. So now I try to go to 15 maximum packing, because it's safer for my body, safer for everything, and I can still go very deep.
Okay, further technical questions for Coach Guillaume over the next 2 days as he takes a privileged bunch into the Red Sea with him. Guillaume and Julie, we want to thank you for really stretching us and making us proud to share humanity with you. And we also want to thank you for teaming and bearing witness, as you said, to the edge of human limits. You've given us deeply spiritual gifts that we can apply in other realms. We have simple material gifts for you. One of those is an astrolabe, a symbol of the early astronomers of this region.
Wow! Astrolabes.
So,
thank you very much.
So 3 things quickly. Remember that Friday night you can hear more from Guillaume at the Discovery Square Theater with a narration of one of his films on limits. If you come back here, same time and place tomorrow night, you can hear the Improv Theater Group giving a demo of their 5 days of workshops with our students, and then giving a 30-minute extemporaneous play that's never been given before or will never be given again based on the audience input. So that's a fascinating tradition of the Winter Enrichment program on this stage tomorrow evening. And if you still have energy and you're not totally inspired to just go out and meditate, then at 9 p.m. tonight in Discovery Theater we have the documentary film Fuel, which won Best Documentary in 2008 at Sundance. It's about it's a positive look at the sort of post-fossil fuel world, and it's consistent with one of our web themes. And so let's conclude the evening with a more round of applause for Julie and Guillaume.
Thank you.